Journey to the Past, Chapter 1, Part 3. Izuku never had a royalty phase. Kacchan had one, though. When they were 3, Kacchan wore a plastic crown and a matching cotton cape for 6 months straight. King Hero, he would call himself, which morphed into King Explosion Hero when his quirk manifested. Izuku thinks he was attracted to kingship mostly because he liked the idea of power. Izuku had never understood it, even when he was 3 years old and Kacchan was declaring that Izuku was the weak princess that they all had to save. It was heroes or nothing for Izuku. The hero before him swishes his cape dramatically. His polished armor and glittery cape glint in the sunlight. It hurts Izuku's eyes to look at him. "A prince has arrived to save you," says the hero. "No thank you," Izuku says. He goes around the sparkly hero in a wide arc, staying clear out of arm's reach. The hero splutters and jogs after him. Izuku walks even faster. "Wait! There are villains looking for you. Stay here so I can rescue you." Izuku stops. He turns around, eyeing the hero. "Why are villains after me, a quirkless 11-year-old? Izuku knows full well that villains would be after him. Not that some random street performer will know that. The hero tilts his head like a bird. "Pardon? Did you say you're quirkless?" Izuku scoffs and keeps walking. This probably isn't a hero. This is probably one of those street performers that dress up like heroes and use their flashy quirks to amuse crowds, only to get moved along by mall security, or, in harsher cases, arrested for public quirk usage. The wannabe hero is still following him. "I don't have any money," Izuku says. "Mon bon monsieur, I do not want your money." The hero keeps pace with him for several blocks. Izuku grits his teeth and goes over a map of the neighborhood in his head. He's run through these streets enough times as a kid. If he broke into a sprint, he could probably find one of his hiding places before the old guy caught up with him. Kacchan hasn't sniffed out half of his hiding places, and Izuku thinks Kacchan is much stronger than this strange foreigner in a glittery cape. "Then who are you?" Izuku asks as he scans the street. The people they pass barely spare them a second glance. The man looks delighted to have been asked. He draws up his cape and strikes a pose. "I am Prince Charming, the hero who cannot stop twinkling." "Right," Izuku says doubtfully. "Are you not dazzled?" His hiding spot isn't for another few streets, but he decides that Prince Charming probably isn't much of a threat. He could throw his backpack full of heavy books at him if he tried anything funny. "Look," Izuku begins, turning around. "I don't know what you want, but I'm not worth following around like this. I don't have any money or friends, and—" The smile drops off Prince Charming's face. He grabs Izuku around the shoulders before Izuku can reach for his backpack and hauls him down the street, right before a fireball scorches the pathway, right where Izuku had been standing. A villain wreathed in flames steps out of a side alley. His entire outfit is made of studded leather and pointed spikes, and eyeliner is crusted beneath his eyes. Prince Charming scoffs. "You are as tacky as ever, mon cher." Izuku looks Prince Charming up and down. "You're calling him tacky? That's kind of hypocritical, isn't it?" Prince Charming ignores him. He keeps Izuku behind him while the leather-bound villain attacks with bursts of flames, returning fire with a sparkly beam from his stomach. Izuku ducks behind a side wall and watches on. Prince Charming isn't anything like the Ice Prince, but he's definitely a real hero. He takes down the flame villain like it's nothing. He maintains a smile the entire time. Izuku takes back everything he thought about Prince Charming before. He's not Izuku's preferred hero, but he's a pro. A pro with a theme. A sparkly, royal theme. Izuku can respect that. When the villain is knocked out by an especially bright beam of light, Prince Charming flips his long hair back and waves Izuku over. "Can I have your autograph?" Izuku asks, pulling out his hero journal. Prince Charming's smile is so wide it seems almost dorky. He bounces on the heels of his silvery boots. "Mon cher ami, yes, I am honored. Do not even thank me. It was my pleasure to save you on this lovely spring afternoon." He takes the notebook from Izuku and signs it with a flourish. When he hands it back, Izuku squints at the page. "Merci pour tout, mon ami. Take care. Prince Charming." "I don't speak French," Izuku says, studying the words, trying to piece them together. What does it say? When he looks back up, Prince Charming and the flame villain are gone. Izuku isn't surprised when Google yields no results. There are plenty of results for Prince Charming, but nothing about the blonde hero in a sparkly cape. Google Translate is much more helpful. Merci pour tout, mon ami. Thank you for everything, my friend. Izuku chews at his fingertips and stares at the screen. What does it mean? Izuku loves almost every hero he comes across, both online and in person. Every quirk is so amazing and he burns up on the inside with jealousy. Some quirks, though, are undeniably cooler than others. Anything? Izuku echoes, jumping in place. You can really make anything? The woman smiles at him. She's very pretty. Anything within reason. My fat cells are transformed into different matter, and it's an exhausting process. That, Izuku says, is so cool. She refuses to give him a name. Izuku doesn't mind. He knows some of the heroes just aren't okay with it. Izuku spends the rest of the week coming up with a name for her. He almost chooses creation or production. Production the producing pro-hero sounds too much like a tongue twister. In the end, he settles on Genesis, an appropriately cool name for such an amazing hero. Your quirk is cool, Izuku says around his straw, but I found someone whose quirk is cooler. The operator snorts. Just promise me you won't say electricity or ice and fire. Or worse, explosions. I couldn't stand that. Izuku narrows his eyes. How do you know about those specific quirks? The operator sips at his bubble tea. He's quiet as he takes a long drink, before saying, too casually, just an example. I dislike flashy, offensive type quirks. But you like All Might and his quirk, right? Izuku puts his drink down. You have to. The operator laughs for some reason. Don't worry, I think a hero with a quirk similar to All Might would be very strong, so long as they have the heart. And they do. They have that heart. Would be an amazing hero? All Might is an amazing hero. Present tense. The operator smacks his lips together. They're faintly blue from his blueberry tea. Did I mention Japanese isn't my first language? Tenses are difficult. Liar. So who is this person with the cool quirk? Izuku watches the operator for another long minute. This conversation is full of lies. He's not upset. A lot of his conversations with those mystery heroes consist of lies and half-truths, but he is hoping that one day they'll slip and reveal something crucial. Or else they'll cave in the face of Izuku's determined stare. But the operator doesn't flinch. If anything, his smile gets wider and wider the longer Izuku stares at him. He seems to enjoy Izuku's frustration. I met a hero with a creation quirk, Izuku finally says, after a solid minute of staring into the operator's unblinking eyes. How did he learn to keep his eyes open for so long? The operator laughs. I'm comfortable losing to her. Her, Izuku says. You said her, so you do know the other heroes. Do you all know each other? Is that it? Do you work together? You have to, or else you're all in communication with one another. You little brat, says the operator fondly. You know I'm not going to spill anything. Tell me about this amazing quirk. The quirk that you know? Izuku says. The quirk attached to the person you're acquainted with? The operator has that unblinking stare fixed on him again, and Izuku sighs. Fine. I called her Genesis. Her quirk is fantastic. The operator visits, sometimes. He's frustrating. Izuku has been running into strange heroes for almost 7 years, but he hasn't received many answers. He wants answers. He has to try something new. He's tried it the Izuku way for years. He needs to try it the Bakugo Katsuki way, just once, just to see if he can spook information out of the strange heroes that save him. A hero in a banana yellow suit punches a villain through a brick wall and then bodily carries Izuku to safety. Izuku doesn't let himself get overwhelmed by the All Might-like display of strength. He has a mission. The hero, hastily dubbed Yellow Might, puts him down and ruffles his hair. When he turns to go without a word goodbye, Izuku pounces. He wedges a foot under the man's legs and uses it to lever himself up enough to wrap his arms around Yellow Mite's neck and cling like a koala. Yellow Mite squawks and tries to pull him off, but Izuku clutches at him even tighter. "Who are you?" Izuku shouts into his ear. "I need answers. Why do villains keep coming after me? Why do strange heroes keep saving me? Why is it me and not someone else?" Yellow Mite gets a fistful of Izuku's sweater and hauls him off his back. He sets Izuku gently down on the asphalt, his hand still resting on Izuku's shoulder, and there's something about his eyes in that moment, something soft and familiar, that makes Izuku think, "This is it. I'm finally going to get the answers I've been searching for years." But then Yellow Mite yanks his hand back, like Izuku is a feral animal who is going to bite it off and sprints as fast as he can in the opposite direction, scooping up the unconscious villain as he goes. "You coward!" Izuku yells after him. "You'll understand when you're older," Yellow Mite calls over his shoulder. Izuku has had enough of being treated like a kid. He runs after Yellow Mite, but by the time he is caught up, both Yellow Mite and the villain have gone. He isn't surprised. He's barely disappointed. Izuku snaps a photo of the man-shaped hole in the brick wall with his crappy camera phone and runs home to sketch Yellow Mite while his memory is still fresh. Prince Charming accidentally destroys a public bench and knifes through a cluster of trees with his glittery lasers. Burnt cherry blossoms flutter in the air. The ground is scorched where the bench once was. Prince Charming's smile never wavers, but Izuku can see that he's sweating. He adjusts his sunglasses and says, in English, "Shit." Izuku laughs. "You sound like All Might. He swears in English too. He is rubbing off on me, I suppose." Izuku leaps forward and seizes a handful of purple cape. Prince Charming flinches back instinctively, but Izuku's grip keeps him from getting far. This is the first time any of these heroes have mentioned All Might. He cannot let him go without a fight. "You've met All Might?" Prince Charming is sweating even more now. I see him on TV, no? Everyone sees him on TV at this moment in time. I am influenced by his media presence. Yes, that's it. I have never met him in person, though. Izuku lets go of the cape. He can't hide his disappointment. A part of him had been hoping that All Might was a part of this whole thing for years. It didn't make any sense, but any chance to interact personally with All Might was a chance Izuku would seize with both hands. But that makes sense. People are influenced by All Might all the time without having met him. Like Izuku. Like Kachan, who started swearing regularly in both English and Japanese a long time ago, partially because of the frequency with which All Might swore, and partially because he likes the way people's faces twist up when they hear him. "Do not look so sad, petit lapin." Izuku scuffs the grass with his sneakers. "Want to go for milkshakes?" "Excusez-moi? I want milkshakes." Okay." Izuku leads them to a small cafe. They garner a few stares, but people are so used to minor heroes, street performers, and cosplayers that they don't question Prince Charming's presence on the streets. Maybe his costume is so flashy that it attracts attention. People assume the gaudy cape, armor, and sunglasses cannot be anything but a performer, rather than an actual hero. Prince Charming buys them milkshakes and they sit by the window. Prince Charming struggles more than the other heroes had when just spending time with Izuku with no villain in sight. He keeps opening his mouth to say something, and then cutting himself off with a wheeze. Izuku fidgets with his straw. "Hey, Prince?" Prince Charming looks up from where he is making shapes in his whipped cream. "Yes?" "Are we friends?" Prince Charming looks offended. "Yes, of course. You thought we weren't?" Izuku shrugs. "I thought we were, but you're not around much. You or the other heroes. It's lonely," Izuku almost says. Isolating. It plays tricks on the mind. When the heroes are gone and it's just Izuku again, he begins to second-guess everything. Prince Charming reaches across the table and places his hand on Izuku's. His smile is a little strained, like he's not sure what to do with his face, but Izuku can hear how hard he's trying through his words. "We're friends. I promise we're friends. Sometimes remembering this makes me feel better on bad days." "Remembering me?" Izuku asks in a small voice. "Yes. Remembering that I have the honor of being your friend, and the friend of the others." Prince Charming is the gaudiest hero. He catches the light like a disco ball, blinding onlookers, and he strikes poses and reapplies lip gloss after each fight. But the way he looks now, squashed into a vinyl booth across from Izuku, reaching out for Izuku's hands, fumbling for the words to tell Izuku that he's honored to have friends. It makes him seem humble, almost. Izuku smiles shyly back at him. Me too. When I'm sad, I pull out drawings of you all, and it makes me feel better. You drew us? Prince Charming asks. You have drawn me? Izuku snatches his hand back. No. You must show me these drawings. No! You're still drawing those fucking imaginary friends? Izuku tries to hide his journal behind his back, but Kacchan is stronger and faster and wrestles it away from him easily. At least he'll be quick, Izuku thinks. They're a few streets away from school, and the morning bell will ring in another 15 minutes or so. Kacchan wouldn't risk being tardy, not even for the chance to mess with Izuku. Kacchan flicks through the journal with an upturned lip. Izuku can't see how this will end with anything other than a destroyed journal, and he has to bite down on his lip to stop from crying, because he's put so much work into this journal. It's almost full. There are so many good notes about his friends in there. Izuku opens his mouth to try and reason with him, even though he knows it's probably useless. Kacchan, give it back, please. Why? You going to fucking cry if I don't? I can't believe you're still wasting your time on this childish bullshit. Kacchan cuts himself off. The journal is open to a random page, a sketch of Red from the last time Izuku had run into him. He sees Red every so often, not as often as Floaty Girl, Almost Ingenium, or Ice Prince, who are the most frequent heroes, or even the Operator, who's made several reappearances since he first showed up, but it's not uncommon to see his sharp, friendly smile. Kacchan grabs his shirt and hauls him close. Izuku has to go up onto his tiptoes to stay grounded. Who the fuck is this? What? Kacchan shakes the journal. This hero, who are they? How do you know them? He's my friend, like all the others, Izuku says. The others? Kacchan says. The other heroes, the ones who saved me. Your imaginary friends, Kacchan corrects. They're not imaginary, they're real. They saved me. Kacchan glowers at him. There's something about his expression, about the way he's searching Izuku's face for some hint of a lie that makes something in Izuku's chest unclench. Right now, Kacchan seems different. Less cruel. Kacchan thumbs through the journal, sneering. How many of these freaks are in here? Izuku doesn't need to think about it. He keeps a tally and he adds to it after every new encounter. 17. 17. Kacchan says. Are you bullshitting me right now? No? Kacchan flicks back through the journal, his lip upturned. Izuku almost wants to ask him to be more gentle with his journal, but he thinks that might just encourage Kacchan to blow it up. Kacchan purses his lips like he's sucked on a lemon. He shoves the journal back at Izuku. Whatever. Fucking lame, shitty Deku. We're in middle school and you still have imaginary friends? Fucking hell. He stalks off, hands shoved in his pockets. There are still 5 minutes until the morning bell will ring. Izuku clutches at his journal and stares after Kacchan, amazed that his journal is still in one piece. There is a boy pinned under a villain's hand. The villain is a hulking metal exoskeleton. The boy is crying. Leaves stick in the boy's dark curls, and dirt is smudged over his freckles and down his ripped school uniform. There is no one else on the street. No one here to save him. Izuku picks up a fallen tree branch and mimics Kacchan's war cry. It cracks and sounds deranged rather than frightening, but it makes the villain turn away from the boy and settle those glowing eyes on Izuku. Izuku thinks it's worked, but then the boy kicks out and tries to squirm out of the villain's grip. The villain curls a hand around the boy's throat, and the boy chokes and splutters as he fails to draw in air. Izuku is running before he's consciously made the decision to get between them. He pulls back, swings, and smacks the branch against the metal back. The impact ricochets up his arm and into his teeth. Oh, said the villain, voice ringing hollowly. I got it wrong. There you are, little hero. The boy sobs around the fat metal fingers. Izuku's knees are trembling, but he keeps himself upright through sheer force of will, holding onto his branch even though he knows it would do nothing against the villain's metal plating. The villain eyes the branch. What were you planning on doing, You're only a child right now. Maybe you're almost in high school, but they say you developed late. Heroes are nothing until UA beats them into shape. I didn't have a plan, Izuku manages to say through chattering teeth. You were hurting him. I won't let you hurt him. You won't let me? I had thought you might be different at this age, but you're exactly the same. The villain laughs and shakes the kid in his grip. Both Izuku and the kid cry out. Let him go, Izuku says. Please, let him go. I got it so wrong. And to think, I almost killed what's probably going to be some unimportant salaryman and then left. Izuku hefts his branch onto his shoulder, but before he can swing again, he's tackled to the ground. A woman in a leather jacket and dangly ears glares at the villain over Izuku's head. Did you just run out at a villain, kid? Is that what I saw? Jesus Christ, you're the worst. Apparently you've always been the worst. Izuku says before he shakes his head to clear it. That boy, you have to help him, please. When Izuku turns his head, he sees another person. When had he gotten there? He's covered in small animals, birds and cats and little mammals with sharp teeth. A lion crouches behind him. Its teeth are bared. Izuku squeaks like a mouse and clutches at the woman's leather jacket. The animal-type hero waves at him with a smile. Weakly, Izuku waves back. I'll get the kid, says the earphone hero. You go stand behind my friend. He doesn't bite. Neither do his animals. The lion is as soft as he is. She confiscates Izuku's tree branch and hurls it off to one side. Hey, Izuku says. She points a finger at him. Don't even think about interfering, you got it? You're like, what, 9? 13, Izuku says. 13, she says. Christ. Okay, scram. Let my friend take care of you. And do not, for the love of fuck, try and fight this villain when you're 13. Izuku blinks up at her. I wouldn't. She snorts like Izuku has said something funny. Yeah, sure. Go. The heroes take care of the villain easily, though Izuku is a little disappointed that he didn't get to see the lion in action. He got to pat it, though. It was like a large kitten, butting up against Izuku's chest, wrapping itself around Izuku, long tail flicking his neck. It isn't until the heroes are gone that Izuku wonders if the lion was there solely to provide rescue support. It seemed awfully fond of Izuku for reasons he can't quite understand. Thank you, Izuku says before they leave. Are you thanking me for saving you or for saving the other kid? Asks Earphone. Izuku says. Both, I think. Why? She snorts. Just sounds like something you'd do. Animal Man says something in sign language that makes Earphone laugh again. Izuku tips his head to one side and she translates. No self-preservation? Izuku blinks up at them. What is that supposed to mean? Never mind, she says. We'll see you around. Stay out of trouble. Wait. They turn back around. Izuku offers out his journal. Can I have your autographs? It's, Izuku fiddles with the buttons of his uniform. It's my birthday today. That's exciting, Izuku, Floaty Girl says. How old are you? 14. Floaty Girl and Ice Prince exchange unreadable glances. Izuku is used to that. His friends often have silent conversations above his head. You're getting grown up. Floaty Girl sounds wistful, almost. You'll be 15 soon. Ice Prince elbows her. 15 does typically come after 14. I mean, she says, rubbing at her side, that you'll be in high school soon. That's a big step. Are you nervous? Izuku chews on his lip. He looks at his shoes rather than at his friends and nods, just the once. There's a beat. Then, Floaty Girl snatches up his hands and pulls him along the street. We don't have a present, but we need to celebrate your birthday somehow. Come on, we'll buy you lunch. It is around lunchtime, isn't it? What do you feel like? Ice Prince waits with the tied-up villains while Floaty Girl leads them deeper into the city. People stare as she passes, but Izuku is used to turning heads when he's with his friends. It used to drive him crazy when he was younger. People can't help but stare at his friends, so why don't more people know about them as heroes? Anyone can tell at a glance that they're amazing. Their faces should be plastered on every flat surface. They get lunch at a nearby takeaway restaurant. Floaty Girl's burger is the size of her head. When Ice Prince meets back up with them, He only orders a vanilla milkshake. They eat in the park near Izuku's house, cross-legged on a grassy clearing. Izuku chews on his burger and palms at the dirt with his free hand. It's dry. He remembers being held under floodwaters here. He remembers the burn of his lungs, the muddy sludge that had stuck to his clothes, the stick that carved a bloody line on his calf when he waded through the waters by Froppy and Floaty Girl's side. Izuku lowers his burger. "You haven't gotten older," he says. Floaty Girl stiffens. Ice Prince puts down his milkshake. "I don't," she begins and then stops. "I know you're not going to tell me anything," Izuku says. "You never do." Floaty Girl puts a hand on Izuku's curls. He peeks up at her. She seems so apologetic, so hurt by Izuku's disappointment, and he realizes that maybe they don't want to keep secrets from him. They're not being mean. They're not the type. "We're sorry," Ice Prince says. "So sorry," Floaty Girl agrees. "It's not because we would tell you if we could." "We can't," Ice Prince says. "No," Floaty Girl says with that terrible hurt expression, so different from her bubbly smile. "We can't." Izuku drops his burger. Floaty Girl reaches for it, trying to stop it from being ruined by the dirt, but Izuku seizes her wrist. He has both of their attentions now. He's surprised by his own boldness. The words are climbing up his throat, and he needs to say this. They need to know this. "Thank you," Izuku says. "Thank you for always saving me. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being my friends." "Oh," Floaty Girl says. "Oh, Izuku." "You don't need to thank us," Ice Prince says. Izuku shakes his head so hard his curls bounce against his cheeks. "No, I want to. You deserve to be thanked. So, thank you. Again." Floaty Girl lunges forward and drags him into a hug. It's not the first time they've hugged. It's not even the second. Izuku is taller now. Not as tall as her, nowhere near as tall as Ice Prince or the others, like Yellow might, but he's taller than he had been when they first met almost 10 years ago. Izuku is different, but Floaty Girl feels the same. She's warm and her jumpsuit is padded with armor and she smells of ozone and vanilla perfume. She's a good hugger. He wonders who taught her to hug like that, fiercely, like every hug is her last. "Are there any more of you?" Izuku asks. "How many have you met?" Floaty Girl asks. 19. "No," she says, "there's no more. That's everyone." Ice Prince hugs him when they leave. He's the same, too. He's 2 temperatures, and it smells faintly of smoke, and his hands are strong and long-fingered, like a piano player. He's very pretty. Izuku has trouble looking at him sometimes. His face feels hot when he does. They wave goodbye to Izuku. He stands on the corner of the park and watches them go until they turn a corner and disappear. If he were to chase after them, to turn that same corner, he knows he would see an empty street. Neither of them would be in sight, as if they had never been there at all. When he gets home, he writes sparse notes in his journal. They didn't reveal much today, but every detail counts. 19 heroes in total, Floaty Girl had said. 19. What an odd number. 20 he could understand. 20 would make sense. 20 is a class. But 19 feels incomplete. Izuku closes his eyes tight and pretends that he's the missing piece. He shuts out visions of his middle school, with looming classmates and walls that start to close in when Izuku's chest feels tight. He doesn't think about Kacchan. He doesn't even think about All Might. He thinks about his 19 friends. Today was the first time he spent a birthday with his friends since he was little and Mum had drafted invitations to all the kids in his preschool class. That sunlight clearing in the local park should belong to a dream, but it was real. Izuku still remembers the tangy taste of the burger's sauce and the feel of grass under his hand and the warmth of his friends dragging him into a hug. He thinks about being the last puzzle piece to complete the story. He thinks about being the missing member of a group of 20 rather than 19. He thinks about his friends knocking on the door and announcing that they'll stay, that they're not going to disappear again, that they think Izuku is worth sticking around for. When he opens his eyes again, the vision fizzles out into nothing. His cheeks are wet. He scrubs at his face and glowers at the journal, open to a drawing of Genesis and Earphone from the last time they teamed up to save him from a villain, but he can't bring himself to close it. He's been dreaming of his friends since he was 5 years old. It shouldn't come as a surprise that he misses them so fiercely that this ache in his chest has never gone away. It never will go away, he thinks. Not until his friends stay with him. Not that they ever will, though. Izuku is used to having impossible dreams. He can live with one more. End of Chapter 1. Podfic's Notes. That's it for Chapter 1. I'll continue on to Chapter 2 and the epilogue, splitting them up into sections as I've been doing for more manageable audio files. We're getting close to canon time period, and I'm really excited for the next chapter. One thing I really like about this section is the mirroring to when Izuku's abducted and he's thinking about he wants his friends to save him, he wants All Might to save him, and then towards the end here we get that comment about how when he thinks about being the missing piece to being connected and part of his group of friends, he doesn't think about Kacchan, he doesn't even think about All Might. I found that to be a really interesting tidbit about sort of where Izuku's at, where he might have possibly changed a little bit from where he is sort of in canon. As always, if you're enjoying this story, please take this time to let the original author know. If you're enjoying this podfic, please let me know. Thanks for joining.